Can't beat that.
Bring it on back. Bring it back. Well, what's going on, everybody? We are early because that's how we do things here at the Bobby Dizzle Podcast. Punctuality is key. Who else is here? There's Wild Trees. He joined us. Better late than never. Yeah, man, we were setting up. I'm like, I'm just going to pop it early. Wild Trees can pop in. He knows the drill.
Perfect. Can you hear me all right?
Oh, yeah. We're already live, man.
All right, good.
A couple minutes early. I want to tell everybody, welcome back to the Bobby Dizzle Podcast. This is your home for the rabbit holes and tangents and anything that captivates my gnat-like reflexes. I have a couple of announcements. I'm reconstructing my homepage that was eliminated by nearly free speech against my will. So I'm building that back up brick by brick. It's bobbydizzle.com. You can find all the ways to watch, listen, and follow. Those will also be in the description and at bobbydizzle.com. Enough about me. Tonight we got D.A. Roberts, kind of a local celebrity, Missouri's finest. Wearing a Sasquatch shirt. I got a Sasquatch hat. D.A. is a former law enforcement officer. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir.
I saw those pictures. Those are pretty pimping. He's an author, podcaster, paranormal investigator, host of D.A. Ex Machina. I've watched several of those shows, and y'all go pretty deep. I do recommend the Roehl one for any of you history buffs that also like paranormal things. That one will make you leave your lights on at night. And Mr. Roberts also has authored several books in the cryptid, paranormal, zombie, and sci-fi genre, and he's working on fantasy. Did a little homework there.
Awesome.
And they're all available at daroberts.net. And I was going to ask you about the. I was doing a little deep dive. I saw the DA verse. Are all your books with the same characters and kind of like a little series, or are they in the same like an anthology?
There are lots of different characters in the different series, but the series all interconnect. There's a timeline on my website. Mm-hmm. If you read the books in a timeline order, you're reading multiple series in a specific order. It tells a much bigger story.
It's pretty neat looking. I mean, I haven't read any, obviously, because I'm illiterate, but I did scroll down the little timeline. They're pretty cool. Like, I was going to ask you which one you thought would people start with, but since it is a series,
I would recommend starting with Apex Predator Wolf Moon. That kind of kicks it all off.
They had a real like an old school vibe look to them.
That was intentional. I wanted them to look like those old school adventure paperbacks.
Like something you get at the book fair.
Right, exactly.
Oh yeah. Cool. Wild Trees are like him. You need to check it out. He's got his little thing. And you were I wasn't gonna ask you about the coast to coast. Well, okay. I didn't get a chance to discuss any of your videos with Wild Trees, but DA does a lot of the same stuff as Anthony, Unidentified S4.
Okay.
His channel, I'm not sure the size of. They're very comparable. A lot of the guests, a lot of stuff. He is, like I said, the recent one about the Roanoke tribe colony, lost colony, right, with the crow on the tree. Mm-hmm. That was a really good one. You had to go back and watch it because there were some issues, but it was pretty nice.
Thanks, man.
And do you think he does a lot of dog men? Were you the one telling me about Project Dogman? Was that you added me to that group, Project Dogman?
I'm the Region 2 director for the North American Dogman Project.
That covers
all of the Midwest.
Okay, that checks out. Yeah, what do you think the Dogman is actually? Does it compare to the other cryptids? Like, does it use the same ways to transfer through the veils?
I think it's a physical creature because it's been listed down through the centuries. I mean, some of our first known record of anything like that would, of course, been Anubis and Wepwawet from Egyptian mythology. But both the Romans and the Greeks mentioned creatures they called the cynocephalus, dog-headed warriors that they fought both in northern Africa and in India.
Yeah, you never hear anybody go too deep into the Dogman. It's always the Sasquatch gets all the rep, but I think that's also a skinwalker thing, as they say the Dogman out there.
Well, the skinwalker, as the Navajo refer to it as the Yee-Natalushi, they can take any form, whereas a Dogman is just simply that.
Just a straight up cryptid.
Right.
I was going to ask,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to ask. There's one dogman report that I heard about in Texas. It's a very small town called Vidor, Texas. And I've actually been to that town. It's like literally a one-horse town. But it's close to a really big natural preserve called the Big Thicket Natural Preserve. It's got a lot of biodiversity, UFO sightings, ghost light sightings, Bigfoot sightings. I'm just familiar. Have you heard of that sighting in Vidor, Texas, or Texas sightings?
Off the top of my head, I'm kind of drawing a blank. I'd have to review my notes and stuff. But there is a lot of really odd stuff sighted in and around the Big Thicket area. So it wouldn't surprise me that there'd be a population of dogmen down there.
Cool. Very cool.
Was that East Texas?
Yeah, that's in East Texas, near the location of the Louisiana border. I'm sorry, but yeah, I had my own
Beaumont, Texas.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it's 40 minutes away because as a scientist, I did a lot of my early research there, so I would stay there for months at a time at a research station, and Beaumont was the closest big city. So when I took an excursion, I would go down. They have a really nice strip club there that my friends told me about, and Beaumont's great.
When I was an officer, a buddy of mine and I talked about applying to the Texas Department of Corrections to work at Beaumont until we found out that its nickname was Bloody Beaumont.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, we're like, you know what? Maybe not. That might just take a big old pass on that.
So maybe they don't back the blue here in Bloody Beaumont.
That's interesting. I've spent some more time working in Beaumont, and I mean, this is anecdotal because I don't live there, but everybody seems really friendly, like laid back, and they have a big mall, a university there. But yeah, to be fair, I have not looked at the crime statistics of the area. So
that was referring to just the conditions inside the prison.
Oh, okay.
Talking about the city itself. They refer to the prison there as Bloody Beaumont.
Okay, that sounds believable. Yeah.
That's what they should have sent Martha Stewart back in the day. Bloody Beaumont.
Yeah, but I was just going to quickly mention that I've told the story before, but it was a few years ago. I think it was 2015 or 16. I spent the whole month of December in the Big Thicket, and I had a pretty intense paranormal experience. Intense because it lasted a long time. I think maybe 3 to 5 minutes. But I've told Bobby about this. Basically, I received a phone call when I was staying in a town called Saratoga. It's one of the towns in the Big Thicket, another one-horse town. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I received a phone call from two non-humans. I don't know what they were, but it lasted for about 5 minutes. I've told Bobby about it, but basically, I picked up the phone, and at first, first of all, I gotta say, I was very scared at night because this house was like in the middle of the woods. It was like so lonely. But in the daytime, I had a blast. But at night, I was like the only person there, so I was very on edge. But yeah, the first thing when they called me, the first thing I thought was like, oh, this is a wrong number, and it's like a foreigner, because I couldn't understand what they were saying. I was like, oh, they're speaking French or Arabic or something. But then as the call progressed, I realized I was like, well, first of all, the voice does not sound human. I was like, this voice sounds like really like a fairy. If I could imagine what a fairy sounds like an imp, like an animal that's very mischievous. That's what it sounded like. It had no sex, like it didn't sound female or male. And then another voice came on, so it was like its buddy, like two little minions, and he started laughing at me. It sounded like and talking to me, and then I also realized that what they were doing, their language, which I've heard other people say, so their language was using English words. So every word was in English. And it had a good rhythm, it sounded natural, but all the words were used incorrectly. So it was like nonsensical English. To them, it sounded like they understood what they were saying. But yeah, that was my personal experience in the Big Thicket.
Like I said, the Big Thicket's a pretty odd area. There's a long history of Bigfoot sightings in the Big Thicket. Of course, you've got just across the border into Louisiana, you've got the Cajun Rougarou. You've got all those bayou legends. That's a heavily forested, heavily swampy area. You could encounter damn near anything down there. I'm pretty convinced. So a paranormal encounter doesn't shock me at all. That was all Native American land long before any of our ancestors got that far. So it's a long history of odd things happening even before Texas was a state or even settled. It's just a really creepy area, and it's a lot of fun. I want to get down there and spend some time, but I have not made it to the Big Thicket yet. But I know some people that have.
Okay, well, yeah, let me know if you want a tour guide. It's only like it's not very far from me, and I know the area. The other thing that's interesting about that area is I was hired I was working with the Big Thicket and also with the federal forestry, the federal government for the forestry agency. My job was to survey the area, so I literally went to almost every single part of the Big Thicket collecting insects. But what's interesting, I've thought about this. I'm pretty sure I've been spotted by Bigfoot because I was in that area so much and so deep in the woods, every part of the woods. I'm almost certain that Bigfoot have seen me
Oh,
and
guaranteed.
observed me.
They
So
will
it's like
see you long before you see them.
right. So it's like it's a reverse cryptid sighting. You know, I didn't see them, but I'm sure they saw me.
Yeah,
But I
Bigfoot
really,
saw me and nobody believes him.
yeah. Now, I think I wasn't messed with because I think they're smart enough to know that I was there as a scientist and I was there for conservation methods.
Mhm.
So I'm pretty sure they gave me, they didn't do anything to me because I don't know. From what I've understood about Bigfoot, it seems like they could understand intentions. And I
Yeah,
think,
I've heard that a lot. I do believe that they can sense intent. I mean, domestic dogs can sense intent. If
yeah,
you're coming in the door of a house and you've got bad things on your mind, and that person's got a dog, they're going to know it. Um, Same thing if you're afraid of a dog. If you show fear and run from dog, yeah, it's going to chase you and bite you. Animals can sense intent. They can sense fear. They can sense your motivations. So I would say, it was completely within the realm of possibility that they knew you weren't there to cause problems and just kept an eye on you.
yeah. Which I didn't think about at the time, but yeah, afterwards I thought about it, which is cool. And if I ever do want to do follow-up research on Bigfoot, I'd probably go to that area. And if I
Good
was going to
place
do
to
research,
start.
yeah, there's a website called woodape.org, and
Mhm.
it lists all the sightings exactly in the Big Thicket. And these are all areas I've been to. Like, I look
Mhm.
at the map, I'm like, oh yeah, I've been there multiple times. So yeah.
See like your car in the background on one of the pictures.
Yeah.
I've often wondered, like after all the Bigfoot guys we've talked to recently, if a scientist couldn't go and get kind of Jane Goodall on them,
Hmm.
if
Yeah.
they did like a repeated, like, hey, it's me, Billy the scientist. Maybe not the whole gifting, like the hair thing we've talked about. Maybe they could get a cool sighting, like at least in their mind, be satiated in that area.
Well, what I've learned from Bigfoot, two things that I mean, I'm not sure if these are correct. This is just what I'm going by now. Number one, it's pointless to try any kind of anything aggressive toward him. Trying to shoot him or tranquilizing, it's pointless because number one, I don't think they're going to let you. Number two,
You know,
they could easily hurt you. That would be like I said, that would be like a field mouse going against Mike Tyson, basically. So
Little
it's like
Mac.
Not only
not
that, if
even
you're going to trank one, we have nothing to go by.
yeah.
We don't know what their metabolisms are. We
Hmm.
can get a rough guess based on mountain gorillas, how much it would take to put one of those down, but they might be 2, 3, 4 times the body mass
Yeah,
of a mountain gorilla. So your best guess might not even be close.
and their physics may not
Yeah.
even play like that. Their
Right.
bio
Physiology.
physio. Yeah.
The other
This is
thing,
why I keep you on here.
I'm happy to be here always, Bobby. You
Yeah.
know that. The other thing is that okay? I've also seen that. Look, it seems like it's also a fool's errand to try to use any technology to record information or to do a scientific experiment. But here's the thing: a scientist could still do research with Bigfoot but here's the thing: you're not going to be able to use a recorder, a video camera, any of these tools. But you do have a tool, and you do have a recording device. It's basically your ears, your eyes, and your mind. They will allow you to use your mind and your eyes. So, like I said, here's an example. Like if I wanted to do a project with fish, okay. Uh, One way to, let's say I was going to a stream and I wanted to count how many times a fish jumps out of a stream. And that was my research project. Okay, well, one way of doing it is I could just put a camera there and record it, right? But for some reason, if I wasn't allowed to use technology, I could just go there and I could just see with my eyes and record with my brain. So I do think research with Bigfoot is possible, but you have to use your body as the main scientific device. I think they will allow that to happen. And those are the
I
two
don't think it's a
things.
question of allowing. I think it's a question of what they recognize. Because I know there's lots of audio recordings been made of very good vocalizations.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Lots of pictures have been taken of print castings. Pictures have been taken of tree structures and things like that. I think what we're up against when people are using a lot of trail cams is, I
Mhm.
think, much like other animals in the animal kingdom, they have the ability to see in the infrared spectrum, and most trail cams operate with infrared shutters. So, yeah, I think they see this beam and just avoid it.
Oh yeah, trail cams are dead giveaway.
Mm-hmm.
Like even deer can sense those.
Yeah, I've seen deer just look directly at the trail cam. I mean, it's obvious they were looking directly at it. Coyotes, bears will actively tear apart a trail cam sometimes because they smell the plastic, they smell the chemicals. I guess it smells sweet to them because I know a number of people that have trail cams destroyed by bears. I personally, my plan is to buy some trail cams that don't use IR, and I want to build wooden cases. And not have any of the plastics in there except for the working parts of the camera.
You can get those old ones. They used to have the film rolls in them.
Mm-hmm.
They may work better than the new ones with it.
I don't think the IR is going to catch you much. There's been too many accounts of farmers that have had their motion sensor lights pushed up, or they'll go out and find sticks shoved in the ground at the edge of where the motion sensor kicks in. So to me, it's kind of an indicator that they are seeing that IR beam. So I don't think we're ever going to catch them on an IR beam unless they're either planning to do it or just didn't notice it, which is unlikely. They tend to notice everything. I mean, if somebody snuck into your house while you're at work and hung a trail cam in the corner of your living room, you're going to notice.
Like you were saying about the smell of one. Have you ever gotten like a new remote control and smelled of it? Like you take it out of the box, you can smell it. That's how the trail cams smell.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got to be a foreign subject. Like it just smells like that hot plastic.
Right.
I wanted to run a hypothesis by you.
Sure.
Because I thought about it recently. So this is a possible explanation. And dude, you could criticize it as much as you want. I'm not committed to this at all. I just wanted further discussion. But anyway, this hypothesis is supposed to be a way to understand or explain why Bigfoot have these weird properties that most animals don't. Like they could turn into orbs, they could turn invisible, their footprints run out, it's like they disappear. They seem to sometimes read your mind. So this hypothesis is supposed to describe why this happens. Okay, so what my hypothesis is that most Bigfoot are flesh and blood animals. Okay, they are native to Earth, but this involves the extraterrestrials or the aliens, the UFO occupants. Okay, so the first part is like if you listen to what a lot of UFO occupants tell humans telepathically, the message is very consistent. It's always like, don't use technology, don't use nuclear weapons. You're using technology incorrectly, and there's going to be a catastrophe in the future. And I've seen that it be consistent. I've never seen a UFO say, make more radioactive weapons. Use more power plants, do more pollution. I've never heard it. It's a very consistent message. Now, if you look at Bigfoot, if it is just a wild animal, it already does what the UFO occupants want it to do. It's doing what they want us to do. They don't have nuclear weapons. They seem to respect nature. They know how to live in harmony with nature. So my hypothesis involves gifting. So the hypothesis is that perhaps at some point in our past, I don't know when, the UFO occupants, they saw the Bigfoot and they said, well, this is what you're supposed to do. We like what you're doing. We want to support you. But you're outnumbered by the humans, and the humans have these weapons. So basically, the UFO occupants gifted them the technology that they have. So the reason why they could turn into orbs, they could go invisible, they could read our minds, they could use portals, is because it was a gift given to them by the UFO occupants. And that's basically the idea.
Well, I'm kind of the opposite end of that spectrum. I'm after almost 20 years in law enforcement, I'm a very physical evidence kind of guy. I think these things have been around for a very long time. I think what people attribute to them as supernatural abilities can be explained. I don't think, now this is just me personally, and again, there are no experts in this field. I don't claim to be an expert. These are my theories.
Of course.
I'm not an advocate saying it's either my way or no way. Everybody's theory is just as valid as mine. Mine's just an educated guess based on observations.
Sure. I
think that you can't explain a mystery with another mystery. I've got a good friend who was an Army Ranger. We grew up together. We went out in the woods one time, and I was making fun of him, saying, I was ex-Army too. And I was, you Rangers aren't that bad. I could find you. And he goes, oh, yeah, try it. And I turned around, and he was gone. And this is just a guy that was trained to do it. It's not something that was born to it. It's not something that's wearing a natural ghillie suit, something that doesn't want to be found in the first place. A lot of researchers, including Doug Hychek from Monster Quest, have been studying hair samples found and found that they have a clear medulla, which allows the hair to pick up and redirect the light around it. So if they have a clear medulla and they're standing in like I am with a green background, they're going to reflect the colors around them. So it's going to be very easy for them to blend into their surroundings. What most people will want to try to explain was something like, their tracks disappeared, so they had to have been picked up by a spaceship. No, a much easier, more logical explanation would be the same thing our special forces do. They backtrack on their own tracks until they can break the trail. We don't have to go to super fantastical explanations to say these things don't want to be found, and they're much better at hiding in the woods than we are. So when you look at the morphology of the tracks, their ability to climb trees, the clear medulla, and the simple fact that they know for a fact that motion in the woods is a dead giveaway. Every deer I've ever shot, I found because it was moving. If it had been laying still, I wouldn't have seen it. So these things get into an area of thick brush and go dead still, you'll walk right by them. My buddy that was a ranger, him in his ghillie suit, I nearly stepped on him twice and never saw him.
Yeah, they're in like a natural ghillie suit too.
Exactly. And they don't want to be found. Are you guys familiar with the uncanny valley theory?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Very much so.
The uncanny valley theory, basically, every human on the planet is afraid of something that looks almost like us in the dark. It's like when you turn off your bedroom light and that pile of laundry in the chair suddenly looks like a monster and you flick it back on.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, everybody, all walks of life, all across the planet, fears something that looks similar to humans in the dark. And I think that is very close to the Danny Vendramini theory, that at some point in our past, probably about the time we learned to make fire, something that looked a hell of a lot like us hunted us in the dark. And I think that primal genetic memory is still there.
I've heard about that a lot. Like we were trained to fear that particular shape.
Exactly. It's something that's passed down from generation to generation because it's, what one of my sergeants used to refer to as good old ass saving fear.
Yeah, it probably helped out a lot. Probably the reason a lot of us are standing here.
I wanted to go back to your response, and I think it's a very valid response. I think it is correct. I do think the majority of what Bigfoot can do are just adaptations, whether they're physiological, or behavioral adaptations. But there are certain cases which are hard for me. Well, I'd like to see what you think, that are hard for me to describe with just physiological adaptations or behavior adaptations. So like there's this witness that we talked to called Randy who lives in Minnesota, and he was with someone else in a deer stand. Basically, they saw like a square rectangle doorway, like a portal open up in front of them, and it looked like the Northern Lights. And then out of it came two orbs of light, and then they saw the orbs turn into a Bigfoot. That kind of stuff is kind of harder for me to explain, but what are your thoughts on these kind of sightings, and what could be causing that?
I've spent a lot of time in the woods in my life. I grew up on a farm. I grew up deer hunting, everything you could hunt in the Midwest. I have never had that personal experience. All of my experiences with any kind of cryptid has been very physical in nature. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to dismiss anybody's accounts of something like that happen. It's just never happened to me. Do portals exist? Yes, we know for a fact that CERN created one. So portals, it's not. We're not going to deny the fact that portals can exist. So what did they see? I don't know. I wasn't there. I can't with any definitive amount of knowledge or forethought say that they're wrong because I wasn't there. You can't say somebody just because we disagree with it. We can't say they made it up. But it is completely outside my experience base. I've never encountered anything like that in all the time I've been out. I have encountered some pretty paranormal stuff. And I can see how, if that was a paranormal encounter, that it would manifest its in their perspective as something they would recognize, or was intended to scare them. Not all things we see in the woods are cryptids. There's, as the old expression goes, there's stranger things in this earth than you're explained in your science ratio. So there's a lot of things out there we just can't explain. we're not. We haven't reached that level of technology where we can explain away all the mysteries of the universe. So, did they see a portal? I don't know. I wasn't there. But if there was two of them, so I would say, if they both saw the same thing, that would certainly lend a lot of credence to the story. But again, I it's outside my realm of experience.
Sure.
Never experienced anything like that. So I would take them at their word. And hopefully be able to go back to that spot and either experience it myself or recreate it or find an explanation for why. But it would definitely be something I would want to look into. And again, I wouldn't dismiss it outright. It's just outside my realm of experience.
Hey, he did offer for us to go up there and sit in the tree stand.
That would be cool.
But it's in Minnesota, and I'm over here in Antarctica compared to there, so like a 17-year drive. I'm like, I don't even know what continent that's on.
Well, I would say, thank you for your feedback, because that is, I do appreciate that, and I do like, it is a good point. It is not a good idea to explain a mystery with another mystery.
Right.
Yeah, and then I think your point is well taken. That a lot of if you're not familiar with wildlife, I mean, intimately familiar, a lot of the things they do could seem bizarre or unexplainable, when really it's just their adaptations.
I've seen a lot of stuff on these Bigfoot pages that are just stuff that people who, like DA and myself, would have known from just hunting our whole life.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, take a look at the chameleon or the cuttlefish or the octopus. The first person that saw that probably thought it was witchcraft. Like, holy crap, that thing just changed colors and disappeared. The first person that saw that had to be just absolutely mind-boggled.
Especially the cuttlefish.
Oh yeah, those things are just creepy, and they're very intelligent. For example, the ancient Norse, they tried to explain the northern lights, the aurora borealis, by saying it was the light reflecting off the armor of the Valkyries who chose the dead warriors to enter Valhalla. So just because we don't understand something doesn't mean it's supernatural or that it's an alien, like that guy on TV, Aliens. Just because we don't understand it doesn't mean we can't at some point. So could it be? Yes. Could it definitely be a portal? Could it be supernatural? Yes. Could it be a phenomenon we just can't explain yet? Yes. Yes, it could. Like down here near Joplin, Missouri, what they refer to as the ghost light. They've been trying to say for better part of a century that it's just swamp gas. Well, I don't know if y'all ever been to Southwest Missouri, but we ain't got a whole lot of swamps around here.
Nope, just mountains.
Yep.
And land of lakes. Oh, Doug Hychek had actually been up to that place we were talking about with Randy in Minnesota. Mm-hmm. Kind of a
Doug's a good dude. I really like Doug.
2 degrees of Bobby Dizzle. Like one day we may meet. But Melinda/Mindy has a question for you there, DA. Can you explain on the hair color and blending in? The medulla is the center of the hair shaft. Outside is the cortex where the color is located. What is the question there?
The center part of the hair, and you can look at this up on MK Davis's site. You can even talk to Doug Hychak about it. Watch some of the episodes of Monster Quest. The center part of the shaft of Bigfoot hair samples that they've studied are clear, kind of like a polar bear's fur. How polar bear's fur is actually not really white. I think my computer just locked up. You guys still hear me?
We still hear you.
So
we'll probably come up here in a second.
Up.
It's a very precious screen very precious position you locked up on.
That's such a flattering look for me.
It's like you're very terrified.
That might be OBS. My OBS studio might have just crashed.
Oh, are you using it as the virtual camera?
Yeah, I do that for the virtual camera from my background because the green screen through StreamYard kind of sucks. Well, we may be stuck with this without me resetting my computer, so
you probably
hopefully it'll fix itself. But it's the same thing with polar bears. Mm-hmm. Polar bears aren't naturally white. Their hair are clear. In fact, what they're talking about for the next generation of ghillie suits is a lot of fiber optics, which will pick up and redirect the color of the light around it. So if they're laying in among brown foliage, they'll look more brown. If they're laying in among green foliage, it'll look more green. So what the working hypothesis is with a lot of researchers is this clear hair shaft on Bigfoot hair allows it to blend into its environment in a very natural adaptation, which to me is a much more logical explanation than saying it's walking around out there with a cloaking device.
Mm-hmm. And no clipping around the woods.
Right.
I do love that theory, that hypothesis, though. That just gets my goat every time I want to hear about it.
What is I forgot that you mentioned the researcher. I think his YouTube page is Greenwave. But what is that researcher? He's a Bigfoot researcher.
We're talking about MK Davis.
Yeah, MK Davis. What do you think about the videos he has on YouTube, especially the trail cam ones, where it's like really far away and you can see the Bigfoot going over fences and you see them being super tall? Do you know what videos I'm talking about?
MK's got some fantastic videos. I like his videos and Thinker Thunker. In fact, if MK or Thinker Thunker says that they believe a video is fake, I'm pretty much in agreement with them, because they do such minute detail searches into these videos frame by frame. So as far as any of the videos they've captured, I've talked to MK. I've had him on my show a couple of times. I've had a lot of conversations with him. If he's posting something, I'll take it that it is what it is. I don't believe he's doctoring images in any way. I don't think he's trying to perpetrate any hoaxes. So if a video surfaces from MK, I will trust it, just because I know the guy and I know his credibility. Whereas, with the advent of Photoshop and video shop programs, it's very difficult to be that accepting of just a random video that's posted to Facebook or posted to YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Thinker Thunker's a good channel too.
Very much so.
And it's really fun to see. Thinker Thunker. So you mentioned you were a paranormal investigator. What did you do? Do you do the field research? Is that like a ghost side of it, or are you cryptid investigations the most?
We do primarily cryptid investigations. I'm the Region 2 director of the NADP, so my field of search is primarily dogman, and I've got a big interest in Bigfoot as well. I've been digging into Bigfoot since I was a kid, since the late 70s. But we've recently been kind of branching a bit more into the paranormal side. I've had a few paranormal encounters of my own that were tough to explain. So I'm very open to the paranormal. I believe that we are seeing, either intelligent haunts or remnant populations, remnants of people, of spirits. But I definitely think there is a lot going on in the paranormal field. It's something that I firmly believe in, but I don't know as much about as I would like.
What's the most real cryptid experience have you had run into?
Nick Valente, who's the Region 3 director for NADP, him and I have spent a week in LBL last year, and we had a sighting of a dogman at about 30 yards.
Okay, that's why I thought you were from Kentucky.
Yeah, we were in LBL we spent about a week inside the LBL.
That's where I got that at. So you had some experience out there?
Mm-hmm.
One of my kayak buddies goes out there all the time. I want to ask him about that.
LBL's a creepy area. It really is.
Nice and remote.
Very.
Just a hop, skip, and a jump from here too. You just got to go just above Nashville and you're there. Oh.
Well, it looks like OBS finally completely crashed.
OBS does it for me too. Got a nice free advertising there. Oh, I can see you now. You look really creepy.
Well, I had to kill OBS completely.
Yeah. Oh,
now I'm just really dark for some reason. Let me see if I can adjust that.
I love it. See, OBS is cool until it's not, and then it's OB like.
Exactly.
That's why I don't use it. That's why I record stuff on here until I figure it out. Or I get like a soundboard or something. Breaking the fourth wall. Let me check out the comments here. Nice little segue. Let's see. We got Anthony. Do we know Anthony? What's up and shaking? Hello, Anthony.
Anthony, that's Anthony Canatella, one of my co-hosts.
Cool. Oh yeah, that's right.
In the chat, Anthony and Robbie Rains.
That's where I recognized him. Yeah, the also known as future Bobby Dizzle Podcast guest. That's we got our favorite biologist, Mindy. Our second, well, tied for favorite biologist. Maybe she's a PhD, so she might outrank you by a second, by a little. Got DA. He's saying hello. Yeah. Call Anthony Pitbull. Why can't I remember a Pitbull song now? Robbie Rains. What's going on, Robbie? Keep thinking. Got Scarborough Sasquatch Station. He's good. Always like him. Of course, we got Mindy deep diving on the hair follicle. What did she say? The outside is medulla is the cortex where the color is located. So if Bigfoot has brown or red hair, those colors are located outside the medulla.
Yes. Mindy's just trying to find out the physics of how this hair works. But I mean, that is a technical question. I myself can't, but there are some hints because we've been talking about how polar bear hair works. So I think polar bear hair is very well understood. So I think, Mindy, the answers to those questions would probably be found if we could read more about the polar bear hair. Because I do understand where you're coming from, but I'm not an expert on hair.
Oh, yeah.
I'm certainly no expert on the hair follicles.
It's amazing how complicated they actually are to be what they are.
Scarborough Sasquatch wanted to know if I got a picture of the dog man. Funny story about that. Nick Valente and I were leaving an area called DeMumbers Bay. And just after you leave the primitive camp area, there's a low water kind of concrete bridge that goes over a little slough. We were just past that. We were probably doing 4 or 5 miles an hour, just creeping. And I literally had my cell phone in my hand with the app up, looking to film something, hoping I could see something. And when I saw it, it went completely out the window. I didn't even think about I only saw it for like 15 seconds. And so by the time I was calm enough to rationally think about my camera, it was long gone.
And just for everybody watching, LBL means Land Between the Lakes, and it's up in Kentucky. It's almost like Lake of the Ozarks, but in Kentucky. Lots of paddling, lots of fish. I've been near there, never to there, but one of my dudes in my paddle club goes up there all the time, so I feel like I have. Like it's one of those osmosis experience. You've seen so many pictures that like I've been there before. No, I haven't. Nowhere near there. Now, when you were an LEO, a law enforcement officer, did you have any experiences during that? Is that where you got your interest in it? I know a lot of people have.
No, my interest in cryptids comes back to when I was a kid in the 70s, first seeing the Patterson Gimlin footage. My only odd experiences as a cop were involving what had to be something supernatural. I saw a full body apparition in a chapel. There was nobody there. There was one way in or out of that chapel, and I went in thinking somebody was in the building that wasn't supposed to be there, and there was no way they exited past me, and there was nobody in the room and no place they could hide. But I saw them just plain as day. I've seen a disembodied figure move across a hallway in an old section of the old surgery wing in the hospital that they shut down. I chased a shadow figure on the mechanical floor of a hospital. Chased it for about 15 minutes before I realized there's no way it could have gotten out, but it was gone.
That's one thing about being that particular profession is you can't just bail on something once it happens. You got to keep use your due diligence and due care and make sure it's not something. Like I've always heard that story, and it may be anecdotal, but like somebody called the police because the neighbors were going nuts, and they go up there and the apartment's been abandoned for 15 years. And I'm like, I would just quit the force. Give me my gold watch. That's all I want.
I wonder about the apparition. What did it look like? Was it a man, woman? Was it dressed contemporarily? Was it see-through? Was it solid?
I was checking doors in an old section of the hospital that wasn't used anymore. And I was walking down a hallway near the old chapel. And as you're walking down the hallway, you can add an angle, see into the chapel because it's a little alcove. But there's a little hallway and then it turns and goes into the chapel. And as I'm like glancing in there, I see an old man, looks like he's probably in his 70s or 80s, in a full like dark colored suit in the back pew of the chapel with his head down like he's praying. And I thought, well, that's odd. I checked the door, turned back, and walked down that little hallway and entered the chapel, and he was gone. There's no other exit. There were no closets or anything that he could have hidden in. He wasn't under any of the pews because I checked it. He wasn't under the pulpit because I checked that. There was literally nowhere he could have gone without running right past me. There was no place he could have gone, and nowhere, no way he could have gone out a window because there weren't any. It was just a little alcove chapel in this old hospital. And when I started making my rounds, I thought, oh crap, that was freaking weird. And as I'm making my rounds and exiting in the main lobby of that old section of the hospital, there's this gigantic painting of the founder of the hospital. Oh. And I looked at him and went, that was who I just saw.
No, freaking get out.
I kid you not.
That would end it. I'd be, well, maybe, what?
Trust me, that didn't go in the report, though.
Oh, no. Wild Trees always says if you're going to always be ready to have a paranormal experience and don't freak out. And first thing I always think is I would freak out. But maybe I wouldn't. Maybe, how you don't know how you're going to behave under certain trauma.
Right.
Like you hear bad news, you just go, okay, and then you save it for afterwards. Maybe that's how you would act, but it sounds like you handled it pretty well.
Well, I didn't panic and I didn't run off, so I guess I did all right.
I mean, if it wasn't hostile, nothing bad actually happened to you, knowing that you just saw the ghost of the founder of the hospital, not only does it confirm like the afterlife, it confirms, ghosts are real.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've long believed they were real. I grew up on stories. Like my mother, she grew up in a haunted house. I heard those stories as a kid, so it's not like I was outside of belief for me. I've never ever thought that ghosts weren't real. I've always believed that there was something beyond the physical world. So it wasn't like a paradigm shift. I didn't freak out, but I have had a couple of well, would you look at the time moments in my career. Like I need to be anywhere else right now.
Yeah, I mean, even the bravest of souls, you got to get out of there. It's like a glitch in the matrix or glitch in our programming when you see something like that happen to you. Like like you said a while ago with the Uncanny Valley. The other day, I saw the shadow of my TV plus the transition to the corner of the room. And I thought a dude was there, and I'm like one instant when I woke up at like 3:33, of course. Seems to be what I do a lot.
It's strange that some people seem to be far more perceptive to this sort of thing than others. Mm-hmm. I used to jokingly refer to myself as a psychic brick because nothing like that affected me. But my wife, on the other hand, is very intuitive when things like that happen. Her and my youngest son, if there's something creepy around, it's like a magnet for those two. And my wife is she's like 100% done with it. When she starts feeling, she's like, oh, nope, something's wrong here. We need to get out of here. And I'm like, nope. It's a pretty nice place. I kind of like it. I don't notice a lot of that stuff, but when I do, it's got to be obvious. It's one of those things that there's a lot of people out there who are mediums or intuitives, and I've never been that guy. I'm not really in tune with it. But one of the things I've noticed about both the paranormal and with cryptids is the more you're exposed to it, the more you open your mind to it, the more you seem to notice.
There has been multiple people we talked to that have saying you can practice it and get better. So everybody has the ability, everybody has the ability to do certain exercises, just have weak muscles. Have you ever tried that?
A lot of it has to do with how open your mind is to it.
Have you ever tried the ESP practicer app, whatever it's called? What is it called? ESP? Wild Trees knows what it's called.
CE5?
Yeah, where you can
or remote viewing.
No, it's that app where you practice the
ESP trainer.
Yeah, kind of like predict the next number or something. They say that helps you do the astral projections and be more sensitive. I don't know how well it works. Sounds like a bit placebo-y to me.
I wanted to get a question real fast, not to pick us off course, but Mindy asked this in the comments. She was asking what you thought shadow people were, and I once again I have no evidence, but I'm interested in what you think since you worked in law enforcement. Sometimes the way the shadow people act and the fact that they're human looking, I wonder if they're criminals, if they're human or human-like, using technology to do crimes, like to break into people's houses and harass them. That's just an idea I had, but what do you think what are your thoughts on shadow people?
Well, having chased them before. A lot of people will see shadow figures during moments of sleep paralysis. And a lot of times they'll describe either what they refer to as the Hat Man or the Hag. And these are commonalities that people across the globe have experienced. In my experience with the time I chased a shadow being, it just looked like a shadow of a person. It was on the mechanical floor. The only way in and out of the floor was if you had to have a proximity card to get through the doors to in and out. So there was no way.
What is a mechanical? What is a mechanical floor?
The mechanical floor in a hospital is where all the maintenance equipment is. It's where all the air handling equipment is. Okay. It's shut down to everybody but maintenance and security, simply because it's all of the high-end air moving equipment and electronics, and where all the main breakers are. And it's a secure area where the general public doesn't need to be. In fact, if you go to certain hospitals, that floor won't even appear on the elevator. Well, the public elevators anyway. So I went. Part of my rounds in the hospital would be to check that floor to make sure no doors had got left open or nobody had managed to sneak inside. And as I was passing between two of the massive air handling equipment, I saw a shadow walk from one side to the other. Yeah. And I immediately beat feet over there and shined my light around, and there was nowhere anybody could have gone. And I looked down another section and I see it again, and I'm like, God dang, whoever that is fast. So I'm yelling like, "Hey, stop!" So I chase it down another section and over by one of the doors. And again, those readers, you've got to scan out, and they beep. So I would have heard somebody go out that door. The door hadn't been opened. The door was secured, and it opened into a stairwell. So I opened it, checked to see if I could hear anybody going up and down the stairs. There was nobody on the stairwell. And this went on for like 10, 15 minutes. I would see it and I would react. I would see it and I would react. And it finally ducked down a section where the maintenance elevators were. And again, these elevators had to be accessed by the proximity card. And this was an older hospital, so the elevators were not fast. So it ducks into that section with the elevators, and I duck around the corner, and it's gone. There's no place it could go. There's a window, but it's inch thick glass. It doesn't open. And the two elevators are still closed, and neither indicator is moving. I didn't hear a beep. There was none of neither elevator was on this floor. So it's not like somebody hit the button and waited for the elevator, then jumped in and waited for the doors to close, because that would have taken time, and I would have been there. I was maybe 5 seconds behind them. So they didn't get on an elevator. They didn't go through a window. They were just gone. And at that point, I'm like, I am chasing something. I'm chasing something that's not really physically here. But in hospitals, there's so much death around hospitals that I think it does attract negative, dark energies.
Oh, most definitely.
So I've known nurses that have seen a dark shape come out of a room right after somebody's died. Just weird stuff like that. So I think shadow beings are, I don't want to say demonic necessarily, but I think they're negative energy. I think they're negative entities that feed on misery or death, and that's why they're seen a lot around hospitals. And people that experience them during sleep paralysis are in extreme fear. So I think these things are a definite dark negative entity. I hate to use the phrase demonic because I think that gets overplayed, but I think to an extent they could be that level of darkness, just maybe on a lesser scale.
It seems like the shadow people are like the first, I don't want to say foot soldiers that come out, and anytime the veil's kind of broken, kind of like whenever you have something happen, they're like the pest that gets the pest that gets in anytime like a building's abandoned.
Yeah, it reminds me of
anybody uses a Ouija board, they see shadow people. It's like the first thing.
It reminds me like when you have a dead carcass. There's stages of decomposition and
that's what I was thinking of.
By.
Perfect.
Yeah,
like
they're like the first ones to come. Yeah,
they're like the fly eggs of the ghost world.
The bot fly.
I wanted to ask you, since we're talking about negative entities, what are your opinions on the black-eyed people, black-eyed children phenomenon?
It's something I've never experienced. We did a show on it about a while back, talking about black-eyed children, and I think that those again are something very dark. They're always asking to be either let into a house or let into a vehicle. How do we know that in the cases when people did let them in, that those are just missing cases, missing people? because the only encounters we have of these are people that experienced them and turned them away. We don't hear about the people. Oh, come on inside. So it could these could be definitely preying on people. We don't know. I don't have a whole lot of information on this, but I think these are a very dark entity. I can't say whether they're supernatural or alien in origin, but I think there's something very sinister in what they're doing. And I think if you encounter one, if you let it into your house or into your vehicle, you're doing so at your own peril.
Interesting. Okay. I wondered about them if they were. First of all, I don't like the term energy vampires. I think it's too glamorous. I like the term energy milker because I think that's closer to what they're doing. They're milking you for fear, like a fear milker. So anyway, I wonder about the black-eyed children. When they're asking, I wonder if they don't feed on your fear, and I wonder if the reason why they ask to go in is not because they want to go in your house. They actually don't want to go in your house. They want to keep the fear going because that's what they're eating. So by asking you and begging to go in your house, they're keeping the tension up high, and then they're feeding off of them. And this is based on a witness that I talked to who had that happen. If you guys want to watch that episode, it's on Black Lotus Live. An episode called Shadow People. Black Lotus Live, or Black Lotus Productions is the name of the channel on YouTube. But yeah, he said that, they came to him, they were begging. He got the impression they could come in if they wanted to. They could break a window. But then they finally left him alone, but they were like banging on the door and scaring him. So yeah, I just wonder if perhaps, maybe they do want to go in and they do want to do something bad, but perhaps they also want to scare you. And a way of ratcheting up the tension is by just keep persisting to be let in.
Again, I don't have any firsthand knowledge. I've just read accounts of the black-eyed kids. So yeah, that could 100% be it. I think that they are definitely after something, and I don't think it's good. No, could it be that they're feeding on your fear? Sure. Could they be feeding on your flesh? Again, sure. We don't know. According to NAM US, 600,000 people are reported each year in America. If you look at the number of missing 411 cases that David Pilates has talked about, could cryptids or paranormal or creatures like black-eyed kids contribute to this? Yeah, it's entirely possible. We don't know. Now, I can tell you from firsthand experience as a cop, maybe 3 out of every 5 missing person cases are just somebody that stumbles in a day or two late with a hangover and a bad story. But a lot of people are reported missing every year that are never heard from again. Now, a lot of that's bodies that are never recovered, human trafficking, but specifically when we're talking about the missing 411 cases, a lot of those go missing under extremely bizarre circumstances and are never heard from them again.
I can only watch the missing 411, The Hunted. I can't watch the original. Too many children. I can't do that. I can't do the children thing.
Mindy was talking. I can tell you the hardest cases you will ever work involve kids.
Yeah, man, that's gotta make you into more of a, I don't want to say more of a man, but kind of thicken you up a little bit more than anything.
They're the ones that stick with you.
Sticking with me, I don't even know them. But I had a guest last week, Karen. She's kind of a paranormal investigator. She was saying that she wasn't saying about black-eyed kids, Mindy. She was talking about little kid. Well, I was talking about little kid ghosts being the scariest one of them all in my world, in my mind. And she said it seems like the demons use the negative energy uses the little kids to be kind of a smoke screen to something worse, draw you in. But yeah, that was her little hypothesis. I don't want no part of any kid ghost. That's the worst.
That would be an easy way to, because most adults have a protective instinct of children.
Yeah, especially ones it's like the ghost, like, hey, what's wrong? Cross over, and all of a sudden
we see a kid in distress. We're pretty well hardwired to try and help.
It's more dug into us than
I can't say everybody is.
Yeah, it's more dug into us than the Uncanny Valley thing, I believe.
Especially if you've got kids of your own.
Yeah. And you can probably hear mine right now. I know I can. Apparently it's bath night. Anytime I fire up this microphone, I have to take a bath and squeal. I'm not sure I must admit a hormone from back here. Oh, Daddy's having fun. Let's make as much noise as possible. Let's have a fight.
I'm lucky there. My boys are all grown.
Now they just ask you for money. John P. Adventures is here. He's from, was it Portugal?
Portugal, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool. Yeah, we've got 8 fans, but they're very diverse.
Hopefully we can attract a few of them over to our channel.
Oh yeah,
I'll be happy to promote you guys on ours. Send people your way.
Yeah, I was curious. That's a good segue. Could you please share with us and with the viewers? I mean, how can we support you? Do you have books? What's your website? What's your YouTube? Like, if we want to learn more about your work.
I've got currently at the moment I have 27 books in print. A good chunk of those are about cryptids. It's all cryptid fiction. But how my fiction differs from a lot of others is I've spent decades researching cryptids and taking thousands upon thousands of accounts and eyewitness statements, and I use those eyewitness statements to create the behaviors of the creatures in the books. So the behaviors are as real as I can make them. 27 books in print. You can find those at daroberts.net. You can find them on Amazon, barnesandnoble.com. Pretty much anywhere books are sold, you can find me listed. Multiple series about multiple different characters, but the series are all intertwined. I'm also part of the North American Dogman Project. I'm the Region 2 director. You can find more information about that at the NorthAmericanDogmanProject.com. And if you'd like to check out our podcast, we do all things cryptid and all creepy things that go bump in the night. Show's called DAX Machina, where we air every Wednesday and Saturday night at 8 p.m. Central. And you can find that at youtube.com/DARobertsAuthor.
And they do a good show too. That stuff is well thought out. It always shocks me how people just work 40 hours a week and do this and have talent. I've got a good group of guys. I really do. There's lots of guys out there. You can tell that they're just one viral video away from popping off, being on the History Channel or something.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. The Tennessee Wraith Chasers? They're kind of like that. Mm-hmm. They were some of my favorite. I don't know what happened to them. You never hear from them anymore. I follow them on some kind of social media. I see every once in a while, they got the black shirts and the tattoos.
I don't know them personally, but we do have friends in common. So I'm familiar with them, but I don't really know them that well.
They have a really good show. Now, let me circle back here since we're circling the drain here. What do you think of the Patterson Gimlin footage? Do you think it's legit, or maybe?
I definitely think the Patterson Gimlin footage is legit. 1967, when that was filmed, we did not have the Photoshop technology that we do today. We've had, specifically one guy named Bob Hieronymus who's tried to claim he was the guy in the suit, yet has been consistently unable to reproduce the suit or anything even remotely close to it. He couldn't duplicate the video, despite many people trying to give him the budget to do so. So I think it was just him trying to get his 15 minutes of fame off of
no one can duplicate it.
Well, at the time they showed the footage of the Patterson Gimlin footage. They showed that to special effects people in Hollywood, people who had just coincidentally wrapped up filming Planet of the Apes, and they're like, "There's no way you can build that suit with what we've got."
And we were thinking the other day, it kind of hit me as like an epiphany. Our guest Randy from Minnesota with the Bigfoot was talking about how they would tear his game cameras off the trees, and anytime he had a camera, they would smash it like nothing would, and they would physically like remote into his iPhone and take pictures off of it, which I don't know how that's possible, but it's not for me to decide. But I've got to thinking about it. The Patterson Gimlin camera was just spring loaded. It was no electric
crank 8mm.
It's basically the same from that movie. What was our movie? Nope.
Yeah,
it's the same scenario. It's the same. Like it hit me. I'm like that. Is Jordan Peele made me know that Jean Jacket is Patty. Correlation.
Yeah, in the movie Nope, it's a horror movie about UFOs. A UFO.
Have you seen it?
Do you? No, I have not.
Oh, really? Oh, sorry. I just assumed you
did. So a spoiler. Well, it's a small spoiler. the UFO is very unique because it turns out to be a living organism. It's not a mechanical craft. It's just one living thing. But anyway, yeah, the idea in that movie is that it can control electricity, so it could shut down any kind of electrical equipment. So what the end up solution is to get it on film is to use an old school crank film camera with no electronic components. And that's what Patterson Gimlin, that's what those guys had. They had an old school crank camera. They didn't have any gas powered engines. They had horses. They probably smelled, they didn't have any cologne. They probably just smelled like BO. So
smell like cowboys.
Like cowboys. So that probably contributed to the fact that, they were undetected.
Yeah, all things being equal, it was the perfect I'm going to see a Sasquatch scenario as far as what they had on them.
Have you seen Bluff Creek?
Bluff Creek?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds familiar.
It was directed by Bobcat Bob Goldthwait, of all people.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen
Really
the trailers
good
for it.
Really good movie.
Yeah, he was talking about that on Rogan.
Yeah. I heard about
it.
If
you get a chance to watch that, it is well worth the watch.
Awesome.
I need to watch that. Yeah, Nope was amazing. Me and Wild Trees did a review on it or something. Did we do a review on Nope?
We did one on Prey, but we talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
Another really good one is what is it? Primal Rage? No, Primal Rage. No, I can't remember what it's called.
Is that the one where the Bigfoot had the wooden mask?
Yes. Yeah.
That was a fan funded one, wasn't it?
I think so.
It was like
the special effects of the creature were just amazing. One of the best. That's when people describe Gugway, that is the best depiction of a Gugway I've ever seen.
Awesome. Where are they from? Is that in like Europe or something, or Mexico?
No, Gugway are described as being very much like Bigfoot, but having a mandrill-like snout.
Mm-hmm.
They've been seen as in the Beast of Seven Shoots. You can Google that. Gugway actually comes from a Micmac word. It means face eater. They're basically the boogeyman of the Bigfoot world. They're absolutely carnivorous. They're very Primal Rage. Thanks, buddy. They're just absolutely terror. They're 100% carnivore. They have no fear of people. Very aggressive. A lot of the Lakota referred to them as the Bear Man, and that was what was told to me by William Nighthawk, who's a Lakota shaman. Awesome guy. Has the Red Rabbit Hole with William Nighthawk podcast. Super awesome guy. But him and I talked about the Gugway at length. But the original Micmac word was Cuckway, but it kind of got bastardized into English as Gugway. But again, it means face eater. Like I said, they're kind of the boogeyman of the Bigfoot world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they are American then, if the Lakota saw.
There are subpopulations of very aggressive reports of aggressive Sasquatch, like in Alaska, and there's apparently 2 species in Mexico, but one is very aggressive. There's a species near Mexico City on the sides of the mountain, sides of the volcanoes. They're reported to be aggressive, but we know that not all reports are aggressive, but it's interesting there are sub-pockets of aggressive Bigfoot Sasquatch.
Well, Bigfoot are considered to be highly intelligent, and I would agree with that statement. They're very intelligent, and much like people, you're going to get personality ranges from good to bad. Just like humans, we've got serial killers in our populations. Look at the movie Ghost in the Darkness. That was based on a true story. Those were 2 lions that basically just decided they were going to start killing and eating humans, and they did it by the hundreds. Fantastic movie, again, based on a true story. They don't know exactly how many people those lions killed.
That one will give you nightmares.
Yeah, that's nightmare fuel right there. But those were just animals that saw us as food and went out of their way to do it. So it's not unheard of in the animal kingdom. But I think you're going to see as wide a variety of personality types among Bigfoot as you do among people, and some of them are just going to be plain bad.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and it falls under that thought you had about the black-eyed children. Like you never know what the bad ones did to people because they weren't allowed to report it.
Right.
Cool. All right, we're closing in on our hour, and I really appreciate you being here. I wanted to wrap up and just ask you what you thought about your coast to coast experience.
Oh, Coast to Coast is awesome. I've really enjoyed being on there. I'm hoping I can be back on sometime in the near future. That was my second time on Coast to Coast. Fantastic experience. Wonderful show. I've been listening to Coast since Art Bell was on. Spent a lot of nights working overnights not only as a cop, but back when I worked security and even working in factories, working overnights. So I'm pretty much a night owl anyway. But yeah, those got me through a lot of overnight shifts. Those old Art Bell and George Norrie Coast to Coast, just fantastic. And I did the weekend edition with Richard Serrett. Awesome guy, fantastic host. Just go to coasttocoastam.com and you can listen to the old archived editions. You can find both of my appearances on there.
Okay, that's one thing I was going to ask if they had it anywhere. I couldn't imagine being security late at night watching Coast to Coast. That gives me jeebies. God, it does it to me. It is during daylight hours.
Right. My mother told me when I was a small child running around the Ozarks and hunting, fishing, being an idiot and everything an Ozarks hillbilly kid can do. My mother once told me that I would blunder in where angels feared to tread, and that's kind of been the hallmark of my life. I'm the idiot that will run toward crap just to find out what it is. When other people are hauling ass the other direction, I'm going to see what the heck it is.
If you don't get that tattooed right here.
Yeah, when I was a cop, I didn't want to be the second guy through the door. If we kicked a door, I wanted to be the first one through the door. It's just my mentality. It's just the way I'm wired, and it's probably never going to change. Probably get me killed one of these days.
Well, they say fortune favors the brave.
That's right.
You'll be the first one slashed to death by a dog man.
Well, I won't go down without a fight.
Here lies DA. He was a DA for attacking the dog man.
It'd be like on that movie Dog Soldiers.
That's another good movie.
I love that movie. I'll be that guy. I hope you get the shits, asshole.
Or the Jack Black character on Mars Attacks. He grabs the guy that grabs him. He gets incinerated. Let me run through these comments and we'll end it. We got Scotty B's here. These are all our favorites, so we got to mention them so they won't ignore us.
Hey, Scotty.
Sightings on 18 wheels. He's a good one.
Oh, hey, what's up?
He does a lot of live video out of his 18 wheeler and sees all the crazy stuff. John P. Adventures, I know him. Robbie Raines, we all know him.
If I'm out in the woods, I'll have a couple of my maniac friends, Robbie and Anthony and Doc, all with 458 SOCOMs. So it's not like we're going to be alone. It's not like we're going to be easy targets.
Maybe the Bigfoot will be watching out for you guys.
They better.
You can grab them by the strap on the back of their backpacks and throw them in front of you. Who wants to play Human Shield?
That's right.
All right, DA, we'll go ahead and we'll drop off here. Thanks for being on. I hope to
no problem. Thanks
one day come on your show if I'm in any notoriety in the next few months.
Well, we'll see if we can make that happen, man.
And I'll reach out to some of your partners in crime there, have them on one of these days. And just thanks everybody for watching. Been a really good episode. It's been a good week for episodes.
It was great meeting you.
We'll talk
also.
You too, man.
Oh yeah. And Wild Trees will probably reach out and see if you'll be on his one day. He is a good show.
Yeah, definitely.
His show is much more informative than mine. Mine's like being in a frat house. All right, we're going to end the live broadcast. Thanks for watching, everyone.